Summarized.
With item number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Following the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll have a brief moment of silence for a moment of reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 3, public comment, 15-minute limit. So I know there's a number of folks that are signed up to address item number 5A6 on the agenda, which has to do with the rezone for the county property in the town of Ringgold. I'm going to assume that those individuals want to address the ERC during that public hearing and not during public comment. If somebody wishes otherwise, please let me know, but that's traditionally where that information is provided to the committee, would be at that public hearing instead of the public comment. So
Yeah, so you would like to wait until that
the
comes up?
public hearing, okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, so we are going to move on to item number 4, which is approval of the July 30th, 2024 committee minutes. They were in your packet. Motion to approve would be in order. Motion by Supervisor Drabak, second by Supervisor Seefeld. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And then we'll move on to items 5A, 1 and 2, and then 4 through 6. 5A3 has been pulled from the agenda. And I should have mentioned to this committee earlier, but I do have to leave at 5 o'clock. So we're going to do our best to be as efficient as possible in getting through the agenda today. We are going to start with the opening of the public hearings then. Just let me get to my paperwork here. Just ask that everybody present here, please mute your electronic devices. And if you're joining us electronically, please mute your devices unless you're the one speaking and addressing the committee. The Marathon County ERC is now meeting in public hearing on the location plan, specifications, and purpose of the following projects. We have 5A 1 and 2, and then we have 5A 4 and 5, as well as, let me check my notes here, I believe we have 5A 6. Yep, and 5A 6. Members present from the committee, myself, Chair Longenhan, Vice Chair Ritter, Supervisor Seefeld, Supervisor Kroll, Supervisor Schoenborn, Marathon County Board Chair Gibbs, Supervisor Drabak, Supervisor DeBrew, and Marilyn Bend, our Wisconsin Towns and Villages representative. And we also have staff present as needed. The establishment of the ERC is required by law for purposes of administration of county ordinances and land conservation programs. This committee must follow state laws and local ordinances as written. This committee cannot change or ignore any part of the ordinances or state laws and must apply the laws as written. The purpose of this committee is to hear and decide on proposed ordinances and ordinance revisions, rezoning petitions, and provide direction on land conservation planning programs. The ERC will give a full and fair hearing to any person applying for a rezone petition. A taped recording is being made of the meeting, which will assist with preparation of written hearing minutes. The committee is interested in hearing all pertinent comments and questions. Each hearing will be opened by reading the public notice and allowing staff to present a staff report, including evidence from any on-site inspection. The applicant and anyone wishing to testify will be sworn and allowed to give testimony. Witnesses will be called in the order of those first in favor, second opposed, and third as interested may appear. The committee may ask questions of the zoning staff and applicant. It is necessary that we set a reasonable time limit on individual statements and on the overall length of the hearing. To promote orderly discussion, anyone wishing to present oral testimony or ask questions relating to the hearing should state your name and present your testimony or questions so it becomes part of the official record. I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals that are signed up to address the committee for 5A6. Being the chair, I'm going to set the policy that for all public testimony provided to the ERC today, that just each individual have no more than 3 minutes to address the board. We request you avoid repetition. Once the committee has all the necessary facts, the chairman will close the hearing, allowing no further testimony, and the committee will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the standards in the ordinance. No additional testimony from the public is allowed during the deliberation. However, the committee may question staff for purposes of clarification. After a decision is made, the committee will proceed to the next hearing. Many of the decisions made by the committee are recommendations to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, who will take up the matter at a future county board meeting. We ask that you please contact staff for more information regarding this county board process. The committee will now hear the application of 5A1, the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Mitch Gums, Farmland Preservation to Low-Density Residential, Town of Hall. We're going to begin, I dropped my pen, with the staff report. Given the staff report provides a summary of the information for the rezone, public testimony is going to have the 3-minute limit. I'm not going to hold Garrett to that 3-minute limit. So Garrett, I'm going to swear you in. Garrett, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, this is from Mitch Gums, petition to rezone land, staff report October 1st, 2024 for the Environmental Resources Committee. The petitioner is Tim Vreeland, located at 6103 Dawn Street, Weston, Wisconsin, 54476. The property owner is Mitch Gums at 224951 Deal Creek Lane, Colby, Wisconsin, 54421. Area proposed to be rezoned is located just east of the intersection of Huckleberry Road and Chestnut Hill Lane. The petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Mitch Gums to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County, Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from FP Farmland Preservation to LDR Low Density Residential located in part of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 10, Township 28 North, Range 2 East, Town Hall. Area being rezoned from FP Farmland Preservation to LDR Low Density Residential is described as Lot 1 of the preliminary CSM, parent parcel number as listed. The Town of Hull Town Board met on August 12, 2024. Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee is meeting today, October 1st, 2024 at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On August 12, 2024, the Town of Hull Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee. Staff recommendation, the rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan and as indicated by a town resolution. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to Marathon County's Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend that the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
All right, any questions for Garrett? Seeing and hearing none, thank you, sir. Moving on to public testimony. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of item 5A1, please identify yourself at this time. I'll call once more. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of item 5A1, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none. I'll call once for this. Anybody wishing to speak against item 5A1, please identify yourself this time. Seeing and hearing none. I'll call once. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for item 5A1, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none, and that no one else wishes to testify on this matter, I'm now declaring the public hearing for 5A1 now closed. The committee will now enter deliberation. Based on the staff report, I think a motion to approve would be in order here. Anyone like to make that motion? Supervisor Schoenborn? Yep. When you make that motion, there should be reasoning behind it. So you can reference things like the findings and fact and conclusions of law provided by staff, something like that. So if you make a motion, just move to approve, and then you have to give the justification. Okay? And use the mic.
It's okay if I go.
Yeah, that's fine. Supervisor Crowell.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to, I move to approve the petition to rezone on behalf of Mitch Gums from Farmland Preservation to low density residential based on the facts and finding of staff and law.
Motion is made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Ritter. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Move on to item 5A2, Tim Vreeland on behalf of Nancy Fensky, General Ag Rural Estate, Town of Elderon. We're back to Garrett.
All right, this is for Nancy Fenske, petition to rezone land, staff report October 1st, 2024 for the Environmental Resources Committee. The petitioner is Tim Vreeland at 6103 Dawn Street, Weston, Wisconsin, 54476. Property owner is Nancy Fenske at 182884 Elm Road, Elam, Wisconsin, 54427. Area proposed to be rezoned is located just east of the intersection of Elm Road and Black Cherry Drive. The petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Nancy Fenske to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County, Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from GA General Agriculture to RE Real Estate located in part of the southeast quarter of Section 22, Township 27 North, Range 10 East, Town of Elderon. Area to be rezoned is to RE Real Estate is described as Lot 1 in the preliminary CSM, parent parcel number as listed. The Town of Elderon Town Board met on August 6th, 2024. Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee is meeting today, October 1st, 2024 at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On August 6, 2024, the Town of Elderon Town Board recommended approval of the Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee. Staff recommendation, the rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan and as indicated by a town resolution. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend that the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
All right, any questions for Garrett? All right, thank you, sir. I don't have anybody signed up for this one either, so I'll call once for in favor, opposed, and as interested. So calling once. Anybody wishing to speak in favor for item 5A2, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against item 5A2, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for item 5A2, please identify yourself at this time. All right, seeing as no one else wishes to testify on this matter, I am now declaring the public hearing for item 5A2 now closed. Again, I think a motion to approve would be in order here. Would anybody like to make that motion? Supervisor Seefeld?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will make a motion for the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Nancy Fenske to amend the General Court Ordinance of Marathon County, Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone land from GA General Agriculture to RE Rural Estate located in the town of Elderon, and to pass the conclusions of law and forward it to the county board.
Motion is made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor DeBrew. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. 5A3, the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Heidi Pesky, rural estate to rural residential. Oh, yeah, you're right. 5A3 was pulled. Thank you, Vice Chair Ritter. We're on to 5A4, the petition of Christopher Schumacher on behalf of Leonard and Karen Reilly, farmland preservation to rural residential town of Hall. Back to Garrett.
All right, this is for Leonard and Karen Reilly, petition to rezone land, staff report October 1st, 2024 for the Environmental Resources Committee. Petitioner is Chris Schumacher of Schumacher Land Surveying, LLC, located at 235-619 North 108th Ave, Wausau, Wisconsin, 54401. Property owners are Leonard and Karen Reilly at 102048 Elderberry Road, Colby, Wisconsin, 54421. Area proposed to be rezoned is located just north of the intersection of Choke Cherry Road and County Road F. The petition of Christopher Schumacher on behalf of Leonard and Karen Reilly to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County, Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from FP Farmland Preservation to RR Rural Residential located in part of the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 25, Township 28 North, Range 2 East, Town of Hall. Area to be rezoned from FP Farmland Preservation to RR Rural Residential is described as Lot 1 of the preliminary CSM, parent parcel number as listed. Town of Hall Town Board met on September 10th, 2024. Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee is meeting today, October 1st, 2024 at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On September 10th, 2024, the Town of Hull Town Board recommended approval of Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee. Staff recommendation, the rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan and as indicated by town resolution. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend that the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
All right, any questions for Garrett? All right, thank you, sir. And again, I don't have anybody signed up for testimony on this one for people from the public that want to speak, so I'll call once for each of these. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of item 5A4, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak opposed to item 5A4, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for item 5A4, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing as I have no one else that wishes to testify on item 5A4, I am now declaring the public hearing now closed. The committee will now enter deliberation. Again, I think a motion to approve would be in order here. Anyone like to make that motion? Supervisor Drabek?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezone of Leonard and Karen Reilly from farmland preservation to rural estate based on the findings of fact as presented by staff, conclusions of law, and the town recommendation.
Is it rural residential, farmland pres rural residential?
Isn't that what I said?
I think you said rural estate.
Sorry.
Farmland
Rural
pres
residential, I
to
meant, yes.
Okay, farmland pres to rural residential.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. All right, motion is made. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Ritter. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We are on to 5A5, the petition of Lori Miskimins, CPZ Director, to consider amending specific areas of Marathon County Comprehensive Plan 2016 necessary to meeting DATCAP requirements for incorporating and updating 2024 to 2033 Marathon County Farmland Preservation Plan. So I'll swear you in, Lori, because I think we're under public hearing yet. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
So we have discussed this amendment a couple different times this year when we updated the Farmland Preservation Plan in May. In speaking with the state, they also required that we make an amendment to our comprehensive plan to incorporate the newly updated Farmland Preservation Plan. So we went through this summer and made those, it's approximately 17 edits, including updating all the footers in our comp plan amendment to just include references essentially to the new Farmland Preservation Plan as opposed to the old, and update one of our maps within the comprehensive plan and also add the new Farmland Preservation Plan as an appendix to our comprehensive plan. As required by statute, we have put this out for people to review and come and offer public comment. We notified all municipal officials in Marathon County as well as adjacent and surrounding municipal officials, non-metallic mine operators, and other interested parties. We put this out on the website. We also put notice in the Wausau Daily Herald. We also held a public hearing on September 17th. We did not actually get anyone, not a public hearing, I'm sorry, a public meeting on September 17th. No one attended that meeting. We did receive 2 questions in regards to the amendments. The first was from a non-metallic mine operator wanting to understand why they were notified. We explained that we have to, by statute, notify them. They didn't have any other comments. The other was from a town just confirming that they did not also have to update their comprehensive plan if the county updated their comprehensive plan, which they do not. So at this point, we have received no other comments on these amendments. Just as a reminder, this is just the amendment for the Farmland Preservation Plan right now. We are proceeding over the next year and a half with the bigger comprehensive plan update, where we will open up and look at the entire comprehensive plan and determine what other changes and updates we want to make to that.
So I know this is kind of a subjective question, but based on the 2 pages in the packet on 60 and 61, it doesn't look like there's anything substantial that's being changed. It looks like a lot of, how do I say this? Like,
It's basically updating the year that the Farmland Preservation Plan is. There's a couple, we're updating all the footers. We had to replace a map within the comprehensive plan to make sure it was the most current map. and also update the cost per acre that eligible landowners may collect.
Yeah, I would almost call this maintenance, if anything. It doesn't seem overly substantial as far as the changes.
Correct.
So, okay. Any other questions for Lori? All right. Seeing and hearing none, thank you. We'll move on to public testimony. Again, I don't have anybody signed up for this, so I'll call once for each of these. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of item 5A5, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak opposed for item 5A5, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing and hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for item 5A5, please identify yourself at this time. All right, seeing as that no one else wishes to testify for item 5A5, I'm now declaring the public hearing for 5A5 now closed. Like I said, I think this is more maintenance than anything, so I think a motion to approve be in order. Supervisor Ritter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will make a motion to approve the amendments to the Marathon County's 2016 Comprehensive Plan.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drabek. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 5A6. Let me just get to where I need to be here. Marathon County's requested Marathon County's request to zone town of Ringgold parcels heavy industrial or in the alternative as a special use zoning district for processing of landfill gas, town of Ringgold. So we will begin with a staff report. I got to swear Shad in. So Shad, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, so the committee may remember this petition from a couple ERCs ago. The reason it's being brought back is to just address some concerns regarding the absence of a formal staff report. So we're back here to kind of present to you the formal staff report for this. So I'll just get right into it here. This is the Marathon County petition to rezone land staff report for October 1st, 2024 for the Environmental Resource Committee. Petitioners, Marathon County, 500 Forest Street, Wausau, Wisconsin. Property owners is the same, Marathon County, 500 Forest Street, Wausau, Wisconsin. The location of the rezone request, area proposed to be rezoned, is located north of State Highway 29, just west of the intersection of State Highway 29 and Silk Road in the town of Ringgold. The request, the petition of Marathon County to amend the General Code of Ordinances for Marathon County Chapter 17 zoning code to zone lands to heavy industrial or in the alternative, a specified solid waste or landfill gas designation specific to the landfill gas processing facility located on site, is described as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 10013, recorded in Volume 41 on page 36 as document number 1122630, filed in the Marathon County Register of Deeds office, located in the southwest quarter of Section 23, Township 28, Township 28 North, Range 9 East, Town of Ringgold. The parcel identification number is seen as in the staff report. The rezone process, if you might recall, is a little bit different for this rezone. It follows the process that's outlined in Wisconsin Statute 59699A. The county board may adopt or may by ordinance zone and rezone lands owned by the county without necessity of securing the approval of town boards of the towns wherein the lands are situated and without following the procedure outlined in sub 5. Provided that the county board shall give written notice to the town board of the town wherein the lands are situated of his intent to rezone, and shall hold a public hearing on the proposed rezoning ordinance, and give notice of the hearing by posting in 5 places in the town. So past public hearings for this particular item, Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee on June 4th, 2024 at 3 p.m. Another public hearing for the ERC on July 2nd of 2024, and then today, October 1st, 2024 at 3 p.m. The legal notification, according to Wisconsin Stat 59699A, the notice was mailed to the town of Ringgold Town Board and posted in 5 places in the town of Ringgold. So the existing zoning, currently zoned, this property that we're referring to is zoned for use as a countywide landfill site and for no other purpose. This was zoned this way on August 28th, 1979, ordinance number 120. Just kind of a image of the ordinance there for your reference. And then in your packet, there's the full legal description of what that ordinance actually covered. We felt it'd be a little bit easier if we showed an illustration of the area of what that legal description actually zoned into that designation. So the map shown on the screen is what area has that zoning designation, which includes the parcel that we're referring to. So the proposed zoning district is heavy industrial. The property that we're referring to is highlighted on the map on the screen as well. This is the property that we're referring to when we're looking at rezoning the property. The farmland preservation plan, the town of Ringgold doesn't have a farmland preservation plan. Here's a plat survey that shows the dimensions of the parcel. It's currently 4.99 acres. So going into some of the size standards, the heavy industrial parcel size standards has a minimum of a lot size of 1 acre. The current parcel contains 4.99 acres, so it meets the minimum standards. The minimum road frontage for a heavy industrial site is 125. The current parcel does not have direct road frontage access. However, it meets the standards of this ordinance. Section 17.20205D, substandard frontage or access, states substandard frontage and or access lots created prior to the establishment of this ordinance that currently do not meet the minimum frontage and or access requirements of Chapter 17.202 may be devoted to uses permitted in the district in which they are located, provided there are no other feasible alternatives. The development meets all other applicable regulations, and the parcel has not been reconfigured since the establishment of this ordinance. The zoning administrator shall make determinations regarding substandard frontage and access by taking into consideration lot arrangement and configuration, environmental conditions, pre-existing structures or developments, adjacent properties, road right-of-way width, and other factors to minimize the potential impact on adjacent lands, as well as ensure the parcel can be adequately accessed by emergency vehicles. So the parcel in question was created prior to Marathon County Chapter 17 zoning code having jurisdiction. As we've referenced before, the zoning designation for this was from 1979. And it's a standalone ordinance. It's not currently under Chapter 17. This rezoning action would bring it into 17. So this parcel was created prior to 17 having jurisdiction over it, as it doesn't have jurisdiction over it right now until the zoning action happens. The development meets all other applicable regulations. There's an existing easement to access the property. That easement goes through the DNR land right off of 27. I believe that's the Ice Age Trail. The rest of the land that goes through is owned by Marathon County. There is no other feasible alternative to gain road access or frontage. The property has adequate access for emergency vehicles. So the staff comments regarding conclusions of law. I know we kind of breezed through the other conclusions of law with our standard rezones, but since this process is a little bit different, I'm just going to kind of go through each one here. So one, the rezone is substantially consistent with the following plans: Marathon County Comprehensive Plan, Marathon County Farmland Preservation Plan. The area proposed to be rezoned is adjacent to the Marathon County landfill. This rezoning aligns well with the Marathon County's comprehensive plan, particularly the infrastructure goals and objectives aimed at providing cost-effective solid waste management by generating an income stream from the natural gases produced by the landfill. The RNG facility will support these objectives. Additionally, the proposed use of the property complements the surrounding landfill operations. The facility will capture and convert natural gases to usable natural gas, helping to protect air quality and reduce greenhouse gas emissions in alignment with the comprehensive plan's natural resource objectives. Two, the location of the proposed development minimizes the amount of agricultural land converted. No farmland will be consumed with this rezone. The applicant has demonstrated that there is a need for the proposed development. Adequate public facilities are present and or will be provided. and C, providing public facilities will not be an unreasonable burden to local government. So A, the need is to assign a zoning district to the property that best reflects its current and future use. B, all necessary public facilities are anticipated to be provided, if not already provided, given any future proposed development would rely on private systems such as private wells, sanitary system, if applicable. C, no anticipated burden on local government. Historically, this parcel was used for a landfill gas processing facility. The proposed use is consistent with the historical use of the property. All applicable building construction and use standards will be applied during the zoning and building permit review process for future developments. 4, the rezoning will not cause unreasonable air, water pollution, soil erosion, or adverse effects on rare or irreplaceable natural areas. All federal, state, local permits and approvals are required for any applicable development on site. Additionally, the proposed rezone will not likely result in any unreasonable air or water pollution, as all pertinent regulations apply and will need to be adhered to. Any disturbance greater than 1 acre would need a DNR stormwater permit. So all concerns from other agencies on the proposed rezone have been addressed. So what the concerns, the town of Ringgold has raised concerns that there are currently no properties in the town zoned for heavy industrial use, and they worry that such zoning could open the door for additional undesired uses. However, any new uses being proposed for the property, since it's owned by Marathon County, would require approval from the Marathon County Board, as well as the requirements found in Chapter 17 zoning code if this were to go under the heavy industrial district. Furthermore, if the use falls under a conditional use category in Chapter 17, a conditional use permit would need to be obtained, which both of the processes, whether you're going through the Board of Adjustment or County Board, do offer opportunities for public input and feedback. The town of Ringgold has also expressed concerns that the gas processing facility cannot be considered a pre-existing use. While the facility has been inactive for over a year, the property was not previously subject to Marathon County's Chapter 17 zoning code. Since Verity obtained all necessary permits before the property came under the jurisdiction of Chapter 17, they maintain a vested interest, and the project is considered pre-existing as long as no significant alterations are made. If any changes to the project are proposed after the property is rezoned under Chapter 17, Verity would need to come and obtain the necessary permits and comply with all applicable regulations in 17 as well. CPZ staff recommendations. The rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the Marathon County Comprehensive Plan based on the information provided above, finding of fact, and conclusion of law. It appears that the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning as found in Wisconsin Statute 5969-9A. Therefore, CPZ recommend that the Environmental Resource Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors unless the committee determines in the alternative that a special use district for this parcel would be more appropriate. If the committee would instead elect to pursue a special use district, such district would require the county engage in the text amendment process to gather town input. As staff, we don't take a position relative to the two respective options. Just to reiterate, if the special district route is chosen, it's something that takes a little bit of time. We'd have to send out to the towns for their input, depending on the draft. If we feel the draft that's included in your packet is where we'd want to start with that option, we could go from there. But if further amendments need to be made, that kind of extends the process as well.
Questions for Shad from the committee? Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shad, I'm just curious. I'm just looking at the form, and I see it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I'm wondering if there's something either removed or if that's just a typo on the staff recommendation or on the staff fact of findings.
That there was actually, I believe, something removed in that. So with our normal rezones, we do require town input because this, as far as like a town resolution, we send a resolution to the towns. With this process, that's not required, so that section was moved. It was just tried to make it look consistent with our previous rezones.
Other questions from the committee? All right, seeing and hearing none, we'll move to public testimony, and I just have a quick question for staff. When the swearing in takes place, I have the applicant state their name, not their municipality, or are they supposed to state their municipality as well?
I believe it's the municipality as well.
Name and municipality? Okay, so I'm gonna just read the rules quickly, or this policy that I'm setting for public testimony today. That way everybody's on, or everybody knows what they're getting into. So if you're wishing to provide public testimony today, ask that you please approach the mic in the back of the room, state your name and municipality, and then I'll swear you in. Like I said earlier, the maximum amount of time that each person offering testimony today will be 3 minutes. I will time you on my phone. I will provide a 30-second warning. That way folks have an opportunity to address everything that they want to in their statements. If there are questions from the committee that are asked after the public testimony has concluded, that will not deduct from each individual person's time. That's not going to count against your time to provide testimony. And then members of the public who offer testimony and have remaining time will not be allowed to donate their time to other members of the public offering testimony. So we are going to begin with the first person I have signed up to speak here, which would be Al Christensen. So Al, if you want to approach the mic at the back of the room and state your name and municipality.
Name is Al Christensen, town of Ringel.
Okay, and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, just give me 1 second here and we can get started. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Al.
Okay. My name is Al Christensen. I'm chairman in the town of Ringel. I'd like to address the traffic safety near the Marathon County landfill. On February 3rd, 2020, the driver of an SUV rear-ended a semi who sustained injuries. On July 27th of this year, the driver of a semi was killed in a fatal accident at the intersection of the landfill. I feel that is the best. It's just been luck that there has not been more accidents out there. If this area is open up to heavy industrial, the town board is concerned that there will be more accidents, we'll have more traffic. You have drivers pulling out into the highway that are, the traffic is doing 65 to 75, 80 miles an hour, and we're just more concerned. Every 2 years, the landfill is doing construction out there, whether they're closing a cell, they're adding on. So and it always involves dump trucks. So you have more traffic concern there. So the town is just concerned that if heavy industrial, is there going to be more industry out there besides the gas reclamation? I also have a resolution here from the monitoring committee for the landfill. The monitoring committee discussed at length of the merits of rezoning, so heavy industrial and is in agreement with that designation. We also advocate that the Marathon County Environmental Resources concurs with the town of Ringel by clarifying their zoning language so it aligns with the operations consistent with renewable gas operations and other said support activities. Also, any future activities performed on that site will align with the existing siting agreement. There is concern that without clear definition or conditions placed on that parcel, the future use of that parcel could result in other activities that would be detrimental to the township and their citizens. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, I have Chris Kielman. Chris, want to approach the mic at the back of the room? And Chris, please state your name and your municipality.
Christopher Kilman, town of Ringel.
Raise your right hand, please. Chris, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
My name's Christopher Kilman. I'm the fire chief for town of Ringel. You got a letter from me that I had sent to you guys in regards to what the fire department's position is on this rezoning of heavy industrial. You also got the variance letter that I received on September 11th from Viridian asking for a variance on their sprinkler system. Talking with Mr. DeSantis, who is my fire inspector, we decided that we will, as a township, deny that variance. If you look at the state statutes have also denied their variance for the sprinkler system. We are a very well experienced department when it comes to commercial, residential, stuff like that. But you bring H1 into Ringel, I don't know how to fight it. I don't know what we have to have for background. I don't know what we need for resources, what we need for equipment. We don't know nothing. Looking at this variance and looking at this denial, there's a building being erected out there on that property as we speak. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but sprinkler system is a big deal. So if they're going to build it without a sprinkler system, we got a problem. What it does is you get a standby system with a pipe that we can hook to, that we can fight the fire with. If we have nothing, I'm not going to put the fire department's lives at risk of going into something we're not experienced in. So concern we have as a fire department is, what does this bring besides Verity? What's your next step of 5 acres? They're taking up a short period of it, but what is the next step? What's the next step coming out there? What am I working with Verity? You got a building that's going up, and we're already asking for a variance. That's probably the biggest thing that I got to deal with as a fire chief. So I guess that's my concerns as a fire department, Town of Ringel. Thank you.
All right. Next up, I have Jessica Telesti. Please approach the mic at the back of the room, please. Name and municipality, please.
Pardon me?
Name and municipality, please.
Jessica Telesti, Ringel.
And then,
Ringel.
yep, and then raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You're good to go.
Just to clarify where we stand on this, Town of Ringel is fully supportive of a renewable natural gas. We're asking you folks to vote for that as the option and against the heavy industrial. Nothing that's been presented here today has given any justification for heavy industrial. The current use, the potential use, the contracts that the county has entered into are all renewable gas oriented. Why are they seeking heavy industrial? It makes no sense. I'd like to read to you your own definition from your heavy industrial ordinance. 17.20104L. Heavy industrial is intended to provide use which by their nature exhibits characteristics that are harmful, noxious, or detrimental to surrounding land uses. Why would we want that in our community? Everything we've discussed, as I mentioned here today, is renewable natural gas oriented, not heavy industrial use. I'd also like to comment that the county planning committee did not consider the comprehensive town plan, which the county itself approved. Under 17.8061-4B9, the proposed zoning request must look for the compliance of the town and county comprehensive plan. I know you folks have, as part of your packets, part of the zoning maps. There is nothing zoned heavy industrial in the town of Ringel. In fact, there's very little zoned commercial or light industrial. And all of a sudden, they're looking for heavy industrial to be brought into our community. Again, everything presented here today relates back to renewable natural gas, of special use, not heavy industrial. With regard to the report presented by this gentleman up front, I would just like to go through under the minimum road frontage. It's required a minimum of 125 feet. In the paragraph underneath that, it indicates unless there are other feasible alternatives or that the zoning administrator makes determinations regarding the substandard footage. There is no road access. You heard from our town chairman who has indicated there are already accidents there. There isn't a, side exit to get into the landfill. And there has been no report from any zoning administrator who has assessed this. Additionally, when you break down additional staff comments, it says that renewable natural gas is the previous use, nothing heavy industrial. It indicates that there is adequate public facilities. You heard from our police chief. We don't have the fire department to handle heavy industrial. You've heard from the indicating on page number 6, the building remodel that's currently underway. There is significant alterations already going on. So there are adequate reasons for our concern that the gas processing is not a pre-existing use.
That'll be time then.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up I have Mike Dombeck. Saying that right? Yes, sir. Okay. All right, so Mike, please state your name and municipality,
Mike Dombeck, Town of Ringel.
and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name is Mike Dombeck, Town of Ringel. I'm the Planning and Zoning Chairman. I'm here today kind of to digest through the staff report and touch on some other things that we went through here. To further expand on the frontage and the analysis and in the staffing report, it says it's all right to have no access because you have a devoted to uses permitted in the district which it is located. So that would mean all uses under heavy industrial. So the concern with heavy industrial is it just going to be gas? Would it be more? So that being said, that might not be the case to imply that access is fine for heavy industrial for what we're looking at, gas processing facility. But that would open up other items to go in there, so therefore would access no longer be available. And then in regards to the frontage, I think for what the use is, gas, there's a pipeline in there, right? We, as a town, worked with a parcel across the Highway 29 to the south. So that pipeline is in there. So that pipeline's not adding more traffic. So just a gas-specific facility, it makes sense that that frontage is adequate, right? We're not having more trucks coming in to service a heavy industrial type facility if it wasn't gas. So moving on from the access, to expand on the H1 zone itself, as Jessica noted, harmful, noxious, detrimental. In the staff report, it kind of had a statement that said, proposed parcel is to be rezoned as currently surrounded by the Marathon County landfill, right? So it's already, everybody's thinking, is it already noxious and detrimental? But as a crow flies, if you look at your mapping on there, it's only 850 feet to a parcel that is not Marathon County's parcel. That's only 3 football fields. So you got to look outside of, oops, already in a landfill. You have to look at air, water, the recreational mountain biking area around there to expand on those thoughts of detrimental. Yes, it's by a landfill, but we can limit it to what's focused on the gas processing facility. To kind of expand one more item, obviously you can tell my point or my view is to go with more of a use specific just for gas. And if the concern is that if something else want to go in there or the facility needs to be adjusted, you still have the state statute that you call it in your staffing report, 5969 Section 9, which requires that the county can change that in the future, but that state statute allows a process which includes a public hearing, again, invites the town of Ringel, invites Marathon County constituents to have a voice, have a conversation.
30
So
seconds.
I wouldn't be fearful of avoiding a special use district because there's still opportunity to adjust and move as time progresses, facilities might change, knowing, and it's open to you guys, Marathon County, to change that, but it opens it up to a public hearing during that change. Thank you.
All right. And then Lee Taroni, if you want to approach the mic at the back of the room, please. All right.
Hi, I'm Lee Taroni. I'm the town attorney for the town of Ringel.
All right. And then Lee, do you sort of tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
My legal opinions are the truth.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thanks for having me, guys. I want to thank Mike Perner. I know he's not here today, but he's worked with me a lot on this before and after, and hopefully in the future. We work really well together, so I thank him for having us back here. We found different facts in law in the interim period is why there's things on that original petition that aren't quite correct. The zoning status was not known until after the committee last met. So those things are all squared away, and that's why we wanted a report to set things out better. Just to give you an informed choice. It's your choice. We all know that. We know how the statutes work. We're not contesting that. We just want you to make an informed choice as it affects the town. The attorney's report in the materials addresses what the use was historically, using landfill gas for fuel to recycle paper products. Now the gas is the product, and we already approved in the town a whole pipeline going across Highway 29 to ship that gas in and out. So it's really a different use. And also I got to mention your code 17.805.11, you've got a whole section on non-conforming uses. And it says if it's been non-use for 12 months, it's no longer an allowed use. Well, we know from landfill records that the gas was shut off for 1 year, 10 months. Okay? Now, let's not get in the weeds. We're trying to look forward, not backwards. What are we going to do in the future? What can we make for the best choice today? If you want to make a different choice a year from now, you have the same statute that you can do that. We don't contest that again. As far as the process for that goes, you choose the process. You can ship it to all the towns if you want, but the statute says you don't have to if you just do your own land. So that process choice is up to you guys. You could do both. You could do short, quick, whatever you want. And I've discussed that with Mike Perner over email before now, and he and I agreed on that. So sorry he's not here. So there's an issue about two things. As far as the frontage goes, I don't understand a lot of the report conclusions. There's no feasible alternative to the frontage issue. Don't you own the land? Don't you own the land that's next to it? So you can't make a deal with yourself. I don't understand that at all. There's no alternative. The other issue is with the self-policing issue. You know, nobody worry about it. We'll just handle it ourselves, okay? Now, as we're all aware, and I'm not trying to dissect all this, but this has been going on for decades. There's been issues here, right? We're all aware of that. In the past year, what do we have? We had a deal negotiated in secret, right? No notice to the town, even though they had simultaneous siting negotiations at the time. Nothing was spelled to them. We had a public hearing in the town on what the heck's going on with this Bitcoin thing, which was not disclosed to anyone. And we only had redacted information at that meeting. So we couldn't even explain to people what was going on exactly. So then we had a zoning petition by the county, which, as I just discussed, has
30 seconds.
Mistakes on it even. So not doing a great job by yourselves. If you do the 5969 process, which we're fine with, that involves a notice to the town and everyone shows up just like this, and we'll live with that. We'll live with the gas. But don't give us heavy industrial, please. Thank you.
All right. So that is everybody that I had signed up to speak, but I'm going to call just generally, if anybody else wishes to speak for, or speak on 5A6, I'll just call once. Okay. So seeing as no one else wishes to testify for item 5A6, I'm now declaring the public hearing now closed, and the committee will now deliberate on this matter. So we just got a bunch of information that we'll have to sort through here. I had a number of notes as well. I guess I want to start with a clarifying question. Shad, can you go back to that frontage information in your staff report?
Yep, should be up there.
Okay.
I'll blow it up a little bit.
That'd be great. So the zoning administrator would be responsible for making determinations here, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Has this ever had to happen before in your time here?
We've used it a couple times on some properties. A lot of the times there's already a pre-existing access. There's wetlands or something nearby that would restrict something from being placed somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular section has been used since I've been here.
Okay, that makes sense. And then in your working with, I'm guessing, Mr. Hagenbusher from Solid Waste, with the renewable gas ambitions that the county has out at this site, this zoning classification is the best classification that we have for that future land, or for that land use, correct?
As far as our existing zoning districts, this would be the one it would fit under. The reason being is because it's a natural gas. It's a gas. It's explosive. Gas is explosive. So they're processing that gas. So it's the only district that we have right now that that makes the most sense for this. It meets the size standards as far as that goes. We have had like a manure storage RNG facility in Marathon County, but since this is taking gas from the landfill, it's not a manure treatment or anything like that. Like our general agriculture doesn't meet the size standards or anything like that. So this is the best district we have that currently exists in our code.
Okay. Other questions from the committee? Supervisor Drabek?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a procedural question here.
Sure.
Because we already voted on this once and it didn't go to county board, do we have to go back and vote to reconsider this?
Is there an attorney in the room? There's several.
There's two of us.
I think there's several.
Three. Two behind you.
Yes, so I believe that the previous contention was that although the board was advised, it was not done so in writing. So now we're giving the town another opportunity to make their comments known, and so then you guys would consider it and vote on it again.
Okay. And then, Deputy Counsel, if you would also want, I think it's on page 116 in your guys' packets, committee members. That was the memo that outlined the options that we have in front of us today for action. So would you feel comfortable summarizing that document?
Yes, so the first options that you have is to just use the existing zoning district with the special uses. And then the second option that you have is to use a special zoning district. If you go with the first option, that's what I assume would be the heavy industrial. That was already what was done previously. And then the second option, if you do elect for that option, which is to do a special zoning district, I believe Attorney Purner has recommended that you start with the language that he has proposed, and that you refrain from including language of contractual and other nature, and keep it limited to only what would be applicable to the zoning code.
Just clarify one point. Today, though, you cannot rezone to the special use district because the special use district has yet to be set up. So it's more of a tell staff, I think Chad said it would take a while to come back before you. So your only official rezoning would be to rezone to the H1.
Okay, so I saw Marilyn a while back, and then I'll go to Chair Gibbs. So Marilyn, go ahead.
My concern is when I read the letter is that the Mingo Fire Department strongly opposes the heavy industrial zoning. Simply stated, we do not have the resources, personal cap, or equipment or training to combat fires. And also the Viridia failed to have the proper sprinkler system and things like that. And the explanations failed to meet the code and failed to provide alternate solutions to meet the code. I just think that too many open questions there. Thank you.
Chair Gibbs.
Yeah, I think going back to Supervisor Drabek's question, I think it was pulled from the agenda and sent back to ERC, so I don't think a motion to reconsider would be necessary because it was sent back to the committee.
Okay.
Can I just address, I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't know your name.
Marilyn Bend.
Marilyn.
I represent towns in Maryland.
Okay. Marilyn, just to address your concern on that, the county has a very long-term contract with Viridi. So the uses that, that you've heard at the public comment about all of these, I call them the parade of horrors argument, it's all set out in a contract that I want to point out to the committee was negotiated under the law adopted in a public hearing or at a public meeting. So the uses are set for that parcel for a very long time. I believe it's a 30-year contract. So it's not like there's, so what is it?
20 plus 2 5s.
Yeah, 20 plus 2 5-year extensions. So the uses are set by contract now, and it's all public record.
Then how were they able to do something else
Exactly.
in between? You know,
Exactly.
that was,
That's my point.
right.
Exactly, that's my point, ma'am. It can't. The county is contractually obligated, unless it wants to get sued for breach of contract. That's exactly my point.
So we have to be careful here because we have to, and we're just looking at this land use classification today. I don't want us to talk about exclusively the land use contracts that Marathon County has, or land use contract that Marathon County has with Verde. I think it is tangential to the discussion that we're having here, and I think it is valuable to bring up, but I want to be very careful with that we don't start to talk about that too much, right? Let's focus on the heavy industrial reclassification. Okay. Thank you. Chair Gibbs?
I guess I would just make one point, and that is, you know, when the board made that decision and discussion, it is under contract, again, that any additional use would require change, would require a public meeting and public discussion about any potential change. To address some of the concerns that were raised during the public comment about potential other uses that potentially could be brought in, that's prohibited by that contract, and I just needed to point that out.
And I believe that's within bounds because, to your point, Chair Gibbs, I don't think that it's wise for us to base land use decisions on what could happen, right? Like, I want to caution the committee against that because, you know, painting the devil on the wall can lead to bad consequences, right? So as far as today goes, though, what I really want to have a good discussion with the committee is, you know, do we look at the heavy industrial or do we explore this special use district that would require a text amendment change, would require some additional legwork from staff? I can start the discussion because my opinion on this really has not changed since several months ago. I really do not believe that the county should be creating situation or should not have situations where we're creating special use districts to especially accommodate every single situation that comes in front of us, right? Like, I think that there's a safety valve on this issue out in Ringgold, which is that land use contract, right? You know, there's an opportunity for folks to come in there if there was some, come in and provide their input. If there was something else that the county would want to do out in Ringgold beyond that renewable gas stuff, to the best of my knowledge right now, we have no further plans beyond developing the gas, right? So I don't think it's a wise move for the committee to try and speculate beyond that. So I'd open up the floor to other thoughts as well from the committee. Supervisor Seefeld, did you want to say something, or are you stretching your hand there? So I have Supervisor Seefeld and Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, this started, how many months ago? And I do agree with our chairman that you know, what was provided to us were all in legal terms and everything. I would not have any problems with this right now, but is it possible down the road that this could change? I'm not sure. If we did do it heavy industrial, once it's made there, That's the final decision. Am I correct?
Well, you could always rezone it into sorry. It could always be rezoned back to something else. But I think what the real deciding factor here is that, like, that's why I asked Chad that question, which is, in staff's review of the existing zoning classifications, what fits this renewable gas project the best? And that's where they settled on heavy industrial. Right?
Right.
But it's, to your point, in your ultimate question, is it set in stone forever and ever and ever? Well, not necessarily. There might come a day where we're not developing gas out there, and might have to rezone to something different. So, go ahead, Suresh.
Therefore, I would agree with the heavy industrial.
Okay.
As of now.
Okay. Supervisor Kroll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just really wanted a resolution for the sprinkler variance, what the next steps are, and how Viridian is going to appease that.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to answer questions. So we are in agreement that there could be a safety issue here relative to a fire hazard. When we drafted this contract in agreement with Viridian, we specified that they must follow all safety and environmental laws to make sure that nothing severe could happen out here. So we would agree and concur that if there is a safety measure that has to be done per code, then follow the code, follow the laws, and put in a safety sprinkler system. We would agree with that. That was through Viridian, right? That was through Viridian, and it was denied by the local township, and I believe by the city of Wausau. I don't know if it was denied at the state level. I would have to follow up on that.
Regardless, I would imagine that'd be DSPS, right? DSPS hasn't contacted us during this rezone process and said that there's a public safety issue. That's, again, there's a reason why we have that language in our questions section where it says, like, have we been contacted by outside agencies? We have not about this particular rezone. So, okay, Marilyn.
Who would pay for the installation of that since it's a county building?
I think that's out of bounds.
Okay, thank you.
I think that one's out of bounds. So, okay. Supervisor Ritter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Circling back to whether we could change or rezone, if we do it before this contract expires, we'd be in breach of contract. So we have 30 years where that's all we can do there is produce renewable natural gas.
That's a fair point. It would not be in the best interest of the county to open up that land to other things. That's a very good point. Other thoughts? So there's two things that you have in front of you. You have essentially a motion to recommend heavy industrial to the county board, or you would essentially direct staff to create this alternative text amendment, this alternative zoning district through a text amendment, right? So would anybody like to make a motion at this point?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair. You're good.
The third alternative would be to do both. That is, make the motion to approve and direct, in the meantime, staff to look into creating a special use district to bring back to this committee.
Okay, so you have A, heavy industrial, B, the special use district, or C, heavy industrial and the special use district.
If I can, Mr. Chair, just to elaborate on.
Go ahead.
I can't not speak at a meeting. The rationale behind Attorney Vanderwall's comments, and I'd certainly let him speak to this, but the idea, as alluded to in Corp Counsel Purner's memo, is that action needs to be taken relative to this issue, and that the idea that directing staff to further evaluate and begin pursuing a special district will take some time, whereas the initial zoning action, as you're all very familiar with, is relatively expedient.
So if the county board, and this is a process question, but if the county board were to approve the heavy industrial classification, then at this month's county board meeting, that alternative text amendment, or that alternative zoning district could still be explored? Or would that really be worthwhile for the committee to even look into?
I don't know how you typically run your committees, but a lot of times, a lot of the committees I represent, the committee will tell staff, we want you to look into this and come back to us with something. There may not be formal action taken on it at that meeting, but you're advising staff to start exploring that alternative for the special use district.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. So there you go. You've got 3 options in front of you. So Supervisor Kroll.
I'd like to explore a 3A option, if that's possible.
So that would be the heavy industrial, wait.
So just approving the heavy
state it for me,
industrial.
please.
Yeah.
Please don't repeat my shorthand.
So one of the things that I brought up in the past regarding this issue is that I don't approve of the special district, but I approve of something maybe that can be used in other areas. And we've discussed in the past something between a light industrial and a heavy industrial. Obviously, a medium industrial sounds right, but I have no idea what that means. But that's where I would go with the special district, maybe something a little more flexible instead of just specifically to natural gas production. So,
Okay.
yes.
So was that a motion or no?
I will make a motion
Okay.
to approve of the landfill to the heavy industrial with the caveat that the staff explore a medium industrial zoning.
Okay. So I'm going to ask for a second, and then we'll go to discussion. So is there a second? Calling once. Is there a second calling twice? Is there a second calling 3 times? Okay, so the motion as it stands dies for lack of a second. We'll go to further discussion. Supervisor or Chair Gibbs.
So the question I would have was to staff, do we have a district that would accommodate something other than heavy industrial? So as Supervisor Kroll was talking about something medium, and I don't know what that would be or what that would even be in our code.
Yeah, as of right now, we do not have that in the middle district. When you're looking at our industrial districts, there's really not a whole lot of overlap where you could fit a medium industrial in. So amending it would essentially, you'd either be duplicating the work of one district, or you would have to amend all 3 districts and kind of reorganize it. So if you were to do a middle, it's not impossible, but it'd be challenging. Yep.
Other thoughts as I'm pulling up light industrial. Supervisor Drayback.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just trying to figure this out as best I can, but if you went with a heavy industrial but put like stipulations on it, I know we can't really do it for everybody, but for this certain circumstance, can you do that?
No.
In this? I didn't think you could, but I'm just
Not
wondering.
with the zoning district, but I think the land use contract essentially serves as that purpose effectively. So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So Supervisor Schoenborn, sorry, I'm reading
Question.
as well.
I have a good question. What, if we didn't use, let's say we just stayed with the first alternative, what would that building or that parcel be used for if we just stayed with the one? And then my other question is, somebody had brought up there is a building being built out there. Is that to update or what? I just need a lot more clarification exactly what's going on out there. And I mean, I've driven by there weekly, and I understand on the other side to the south what that's for, but there's just a lot of unanswered questions. Could you fill me in on that, Chad, a little bit? I mean, with that building, what are we using it for? And I mean, I'm just a little more clarification, please.
Yeah, I can address that. So the project that's going on site right now is related to the RNG facility that's being constructed on site. I think there's been a little bit of a misunderstanding as far as, in my staff report, I said new development will need to go, if it goes into the heavy industrial, new development will need to get permitting. What I meant by that is essentially the work that's being done right now is already approved. They've already obtained permits for the work they're currently working on. If this were to be rezoned under the Chapter 17's jurisdiction, that work is still allowed to happen without having to get permits through Marathon County zoning. It'd be if there was a major change to those projects, they added something on that wasn't on their approved project plans. That would then, if it was under our zoning at that time, they would have to come to us to get permits for that. So what they already have approved, they can start construction, they can continue construction. It's essentially just anything new in the future once this is under Chapter 17, which is why it's important, in my opinion, to get this under Chapter 17 zoning code, is then we have another layer of protection in the future, where if they do say, we want to add this, well, then they're coming to us for permitting and we can oversee some of those projects. Whether it's the heavy industrial or the special use district, if you guys have an idea that you would like the special use district, like Attorney Vanderwall had said, you could get it under Chapter 17 now as heavy industrial and direct staff to look into that so we can develop a ordinance that makes sense. I hesitate to just jump straight into here's an ordinance for you guys, let's use this, because that's how we miss things. It's good to get some background, get some extra background in it, and make sure we develop an ordinance that works for us. But I mean, it's up to the committee on whether or not you want to get it under Chapter 17 now. You want direct staff to look into the special use district before taking action, or you can take action and still direct us to look into that special use district. It's kind of how you guys want to direct staff.
Other questions? Supervisor Brew.
I guess the biggest concern I hear from the town especially is that they're concerned about something else happening besides gas production or whatever transfer. What are the odds of that happening, and what safety things are in place that to protect the town if we decide to do something different than that? Is there, what I mean? How, what are the odds of that happening?
So I'll just add one thing, because I think Vice Chair Ritter really summed it up well earlier, where he said, if we were going to go beyond the contract that we already have with Ferretti, we could risk breaching that contract, and that wouldn't be in the best interest of the county, right? If we want to benefit from this gas stuff, like, we don't want to push our luck by doing stuff beyond what's under heavy industrial. Did I mischaracterize that at all, Mike? Or okay.
The only other thing I'll add is, I'm saying the same thing multiple times that you've heard before. The only thing permitted under that contract after September of 25, the activity happening on that parcel is related to natural gas processing. The only way that would change is if that was an amendment to that contract, which, just like when the agreements were being negotiated, the county board was fully apprised of. I would ask you all to think back to the numerous meetings where Dave and I provided you, along with Mike, very riveting information over a very long period of time. But that's what the contract requires as of September 25. The construction that Chad is Shad is talking about is that construction to get them to the place where in September they are doing natural gas processing. Anything you wanted to add, Dave?
Well, and to be fair, some supervisors didn't get to participate in those talks because, yeah, they didn't join us quite yet. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so just a piece to add. So if, let's say that contract did end and Marathon County decided to do something else on that property, it would have to go back through Solid Waste Board, which many of you are members on. It would have to come through ERC, and it would have to be voted on by county board if we were to do anything else on that property that involved anything of significance related to solid waste operations. Since it is the property, it's Marathon County. The committees and boards would have to agree that that's a good choice moving forward.
Okay. Other thoughts, questions? Would I like to make a motion? Supervisor Seefeld?
I will make a motion to zone it heavy industrial with this, I don't know if we can put this in there, stipulation of looking for, I don't know what you were talking about, Chad?
I think the third option was to direct us to look into the special use district or develop the special use district.
I'll leave that out.
Okay.
Motion is to go to heavy industrial.
So you're leaving the part about looking into the special use district out? You're
Right.
just making the motion to rezone to heavy industrial?
Correct.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Kroll. Is there any further discussion? Is everybody clear what we're voting on? And I would recommend to the county board to rezone this to heavy industrial. There's no language in this motion about looking at a special use district, okay? All right. Do I got a roll call here, kinda, sorta? Actually, Nicole, could you call the roll?
Mike?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
John? Jay?
No.
Alan?
Aye.
And Randy? Jacob?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to item B. We have nothing. C, review and possible recommendations to the county board for its consideration. Approving intergovernmental agreement to provide park services for City of Wausau Parks. What do we have today? Okay, Jamie, if you want to get started, that'd be great.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Sorry I couldn't be at the meeting today, but what you have in front of you is an intergovernmental agreement that we have been working on with the City of Wausau over the past several months. Basically, this comes out of the 1974 agreement for the city when they turned over all their parks operations to the county. With that state statute came the ability to put a service contract in place. One was attempted in 1992 that never made it through both the county board and the city council. So after COVID, we have been working with our city attorney and with Corporation Council to come to this, basically just memorializing all of the resolutions that have been put in place over the past 50 years and laying the groundwork of what the city expects the county to provide for park services. So this has gone through the city process. It was passed by the city council last week, 11-0. It has gone through the park commission. once it gets approved by county board, it will be executed by both entities.
Jamie, I think you cut out there for a second. You said it went to Park Commission, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And it passed there unanimously, I'm guessing? Okay, Rick said yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Sorry, yes.
Okay. Any questions for
I'm in
Director?
Western Marathon County, so this.
Any questions for Director Polly?
Okay.
Jamie, a motion to approve from this committee is what you're looking for?
Yes, and pass on to county board,
Okay.
please.
Anybody like to make that motion? Supervisor Seefeld?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement to provide park and recreation services for the city of Wausau.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Ritter. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We are on to C2, consideration of private on-site wastewater treatment system maintenance program special assessment fees. I think Lori's going to take the lead on this.
Administrator Leonard, do you want to start or you want me to start? Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a little bit of background. This actually stems from the budget discussions and priority setting at the county board. Through that process, the board made very clear that it wanted staff to really evaluate the cost of us delivering our services and whether or not there were opportunities for us to better recover our costs for programs that are for specific user groups or similar situations where they're specific to, like a permit that would benefit the permit holder. And Lori will go through a little bit about that, particularly as it relates to our POUTS permit side of the work that we do. But in that process, I want to give a lot of credit to CPZ, really looking at kind of what are other counties doing, what are the opportunities for those services, again, that are designed to benefit particular landowners in our service array. And this is one of the areas that was identified for a new fee for service. You'll see a similar thing coming through at the county board in the next couple of months in the medical examiner's office to implement some new fees as permitted by statute. But this is one area that was identified by Conservation Planning and Zoning, and Lori will walk you through the memo that she put together that's in your packet. And essentially what are two primary options for you, kind of a decision tree that are you either implement some new fee to cover a program that we have ongoing, or you continue to subsidize that program in the current system of how we've been doing it through the use of tax levy. And if you go the route of implementing a new fee, Lori gives you a couple of different ways that we can go about doing that. One is more expeditious in how we would implement it, and the other is a bit more cumbersome and increased costs, but we nevertheless wanted to present you with all the options. So with that, take it away, Lori.
Thank you, Administrator Leonard. For the new supervisors, just to give a little bit of background again, I know we've kind of talked about this a couple times, but with the private on-site wastewater treatment system program at CPZ, there's sort of two main components to that. One side is the permit issuance in terms of issuing permits for replacement and new systems throughout our county. The other side is what we call our maintenance program. It is required by the state that we adopt and enforce a maintenance program for the maintenance of the approximately 21,000 systems we have within Marathon County. In previous months when we've talked to you about the fees, and when we talked to you in the last session about the fees as well, we have examined our permit costs for the permit issuance side of the program and found that the fees we're charging for permit review, installation, inspection are commensurate with the time and the effort it is taking us to review those permits. Where the gap exists is definitely on the maintenance side of our POUTS maintenance program. We do not have a revenue stream that pays for that. We are required to do it by the state. In examining that some more, we found that, approximately 3.85 of the CPZ staff time, 3.85 full-time employees are committed to administering our POUTS program, both sides of that. And the gap, as we see it, as it relates to the maintenance program, amounts to about $144,000 a year of what it takes us to run that maintenance program, but that we don't have a revenue stream in order to do that. So we did look at what other counties were doing. We went back and we looked in state statute and determined also that in the statute there is the ability to charge a fee related to that maintenance program. Thus far, we've identified 25 counties that are charging that fee in one form or another. So in this memo, we did present the three options. As Administrator Leonard said, we could stay with the current state of practice and continue to use the tax levy for the maintenance side of our program. We could also look at a special charge on the tax bill. This process would require us to take this to county board, asking them to adopt a preliminary resolution that would give the description and the purpose of the charge. We'd have to outline the properties that are being affected and if there's installment options by which a POUTS owner could pay that fee. We would then also have to notify all 21,000 systems for sure. They have to be notified that we're considering this assessment fee, and there would be a public hearing before it came back before county board for decision. This is the way it has been set up by most counties that we can tell. It is being included in their tax bills if it is adopted. Our current maintenance software, Ascent, that we use for our POUTS maintenance program actually is already set up. There's a module within it that makes it easy for us, if this were to be adopted by county board, to put that fee on the tax bill. So it's already built for that because other counties are doing that. In analyzing the costs again, we estimate that to implement this and do this, the fee for each POUTS system would be $6 a year, and it would be assessed on their tax bill. That would amount to approximately $126,000 a year in additional revenue. I mentioned that the gap, as we see it, is conservatively, we believe it's about $144,000, but we want to make sure that we're continuing to evaluate that. We're not trying to overcharge for covering the costs of the maintenance program. The other option that we did look at was whether or not we could go the route of adding a fee via an issuance of an invoice to the landowners when they get their maintenance postcard. So in the maintenance program, they are notified every 3 years that they are due for that inspection and maintenance. So we could implement a process by which they get that notification that they're due for maintenance, and they also get that 3-year bill essentially that says you also have to pay a fee associated with that. We don't actually have a way in our Ascent software to do that, so that doesn't exist. We did look at that, and it doesn't exist. It's something that we would have to build and likely manually track in the beginning to do that. So, and work with T-Tech hopefully to build us something that would allow us to track, because it would amount to about 7,000 systems a year would be getting that notice because they're on a 3-year cycle. So we only do about 7,000 systems a year. And so we would be tracking those. And so basically a landowner would be told that you have to do 2 things when it's your time to maintain your system. You have to get that inspection and get your pumper to report that into our system. And you also have to pay a fee to CPZ for that maintenance. And so if they didn't pay that fee, we would actually then have to start a process to turn them over to the DOR for collection. So in looking through that option, it definitely is a little bit more labor intensive and cumbersome, and we believe because we would need T-Tech to help us build a new option, and because we could potentially be looking at having to manually track that option, it would actually cost our program more to do the maintenance program. So we're estimating the cost would be more about $750 per system, or $2250 every 3 years. As I mentioned before, we have identified at least 25 counties already that are charging a fee for their POUTS maintenance program. It is in the state statute that we can do this. So we wanted to bring these options before the ERC to discuss and to determine how to move forward. Like I said, the 3 options before you would be to, 1, remain in the current state of practice and have the POUTS maintenance program continue to be funded by the tax levy. 2, add a special charge on the tax bill for the landowners that have POUTs to help fund that maintenance program, or 3, go the route of adding a fee to our schedule of fees to then charge landowners every 3 years for the maintenance program. Under option 2 as well, that is something, again, where the county board has to take up the preliminary resolution. It doesn't dictate in statute that the ERC would have to make that recommendation to them, but based on how the committees work within Marathon County, we believe that would be the best route, would be for the ERC to make that recommendation if they're in support of option 2.
Marilyn.
What fee are you starting out with, and how often would that be increased? And who would make that increase, and who would vote on the increase? If it was more than $5 or $7, how long would that fee be there? So you started out year 1, 2, 3. If you would increase the fee, would you have to get approval to increase the fee on the tax bill?
Yes. So we're proposing to start at $6 a system under option 2 and $7.50 under option 3. Both of them would require approvals. The special charge would have to go back through the county board. If it was something being added to our schedule of fees, I believe it would just go to the ERC.
So that's a great question. So what we're trying to do with the budget that you'll see assuming I get it done in the near future, we're going to add an appendix to the end of the budget to Marilyn's point, being very transparent about the fees that are charged for our various fee-for-service programs. So I envision that the board is going to approve a budget with an appendix of fees, similar to what your budget book looked like last year, where you had the fees that are charged by various departments for various services. Those were embedded in each department section. We're going to put it all as an appendix so you can see exactly what the fees are. And if there's going to be a change to those, I would envision that going through the county board. The process that Lori referenced relative to the tax bill approach and having that go through the county board relatively quickly is a separate way that we would do that. But I think also, again, credit to CPZ. We had projections as to what that shortfall is, what our current levy subsidy for this direct service program is. Lori and her team didn't put together the fee to fully cover that. We want to start and continue to assess. We are not in the business of overcharging for the fees for service that we offer. So the short answer to your question, Marilyn, is yes, it would have to be, in either event, have to be approved by the county board.
And then when that special fee is paid as a tax, it would go directly then to CPZ? How would they get that money?
That's a great question Lori asked me this morning, and I really don't know yet. We're not going to build the system as to how the money is going to get collected. If it's through the tax bill, it gets collected in accordance with the individuals paying their taxes. The goal of the fee is to support the POUTS maintenance program. So ultimately, how we route those funds to that program, I don't know yet, but we would do that.
Because I want to make sure that if you're going to charge that fee, then you make sure that it goes to CPZ and not someplace else.
Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious if we choose option 3, which is the invoice. Do you anticipate extra time enforcing that payment if it's delinquent or unpaid?
So there's a significant amount of tracking we would still have to do. I mean, that is part of our maintenance program, is to track the pumping and that it's getting reported into our system. So we would be adding an additional tracking component for 7,000 systems a year. We would not have to do the enforcement side of it. We would push that to DOR. I mean, we'd still have to track it enough to give DOR enough information to then enforce if somebody did not pay the fee, is my understanding.
I'd also want to do some work on it. I agree that's our hope, is if that you go, should you choose option 3, we would look to have DOR collect any non-payers. There is a lot of work that would go into verifying. DOR just doesn't collect any debt. Department of Revenue, SDC is what it's called. So the Department of Revenue has the state debt collection system, and you have to seek to get added to that system. We allow that. We currently utilize that for some of our court-related debt. Supervisor Robinson and I were just at a presentation with the Wisconsin Counties Association where the Secretary of the Department of Revenue referenced the significant backlog that Department of Revenue has for entities wanting to gain access to the state debt collection system. So the short answer to your question is, I also don't know what that would look like. I do know 100% it would be a lot more work for us than adding a single line to a tax bill.
For a bit of context, I'll say, so on what we do now for people who do not pump, I think, we do have several notices we give them, and I think about 20 to 40 systems a year we end up forwarding to our corporation counsel for citations because they do not meet the standard, or didn't report, I should say, their maintenance in the program. So I expect in the first couple years we would have a lot that I would say that number would go up pretty significantly because it's going to be something new. It's going to be something we are going to have to track and sort of enforce a little more aggressively at first when it's instituted. So
just to give a little bit more information, if I may, this year right now we're on our final notices stage, and there's around 814 of them that are going out. And that's the last notice, and the next stage would essentially be the citation stage.
And then just to give you guys additional background on what Administrator Leonard was talking about, we're currently working with North Central Healthcare to get them on that list with the DOR. We have been told there's no set timeline, but it's not going to be anytime soon. It's actually necessitated that we extend our collection contract that's current because we're not anticipating that even though we've applied, we've gone through all of the paperwork, we will definitely not have it this year, and it's probably going to take well into next year before we are on their list.
If the committee did want to choose, let's say, option 2, would that be implemented for the tax bills that are going to go out in 2024 here in a couple months?
That was our intent, to bring this to you. And Lori, I don't know if you want to talk through the conversations you've had with our IT folks about how we would do this through our current system. And
So basically, again, the process would be that the county board would adopt that preliminary resolution. They would have to do that later this month. At that time, all 21,000 systems would be notified. There would be a public hearing in November. It could be adopted through the November budget. Because the module and everything already exists in our software system, if it is adopted in the November budget, it can go out in the 2025 tax bill.
Okay, a
That's
bunch
really
of hands
pushing
just, okay, yeah, a bunch of hands just went up. So Chair Gibbs, then Supervisor Drabeck.
But I think that if the committee chose to, they could delay implementation till the 2025 property tax slips, or 2020, yeah, maybe 2025 property tax slips that come out in January of 26, if they chose to. I mean, you've got to get 7,000 notices out. We got to have a public hearing. We don't know, and you got to get approval and so on.
Supervisor Drabeck.
Thank you. I was just wondering about a different option, like why doesn't if the pumpers or the inspectors, whoever looks at the system, that you'd be actually paying them for that every 3 years, and that would come in then?
We have discussed that option. We think that is also going to be a very difficult choice to implement as well, like the implementation.
I think one of the challenges with that route too is we have several pumping companies that don't just work in Marathon County, and having everybody understand that I need to collect this fee so I can give it to Marathon County could be a challenge. Getting everybody on board. There's some pumpers that only do work in our county a few times. They might not. It'd be a hard thing to track, and it'd be another thing that getting that private contractor to pay the county to submit a report.
Marilyn?
Would not be possible this year because they always want the tax bills out by the first part of December.
Yeah. Yep. Good point. Other thoughts, especially you urban supervisors, I want to hear thoughts because if I represented an urban area and I found out that was all getting subsidized by the tax levy, I'd have some thoughts. So, Supervisor Kroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the introduction. I was actually just going to say I wanted to hear everybody's opinions who have constituents that have these systems, and I would defer to them for the recommendation.
All right. So Supervisor Ritter, and then Marilyn, and then I have some thoughts as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think option C is going to cost more than we're saving. And I think option B is pretty close to, with all the background work. How much are we going to spend to implement all this? Just, I think option A is just the simplest.
Okay, so we had Marilyn and then John. You're good?
I just raised my hand.
Oh, okay. John.
I want to thank you for considering this. I think as part of the budget, beginning of the budget process, we asked all the committees to evaluate fees. And keep in mind that the tax levy is approximately a little over 25% of our budget. And 75% of the budget comes from grants, other sources, fees, fines, forfeitures, and this. But we're not keeping pace with inflation. This is clearly a service to the property. That there is benefit to the property by having the POUT system and having it inspected and having the capability of the staff to perform the work. And I think it's whatever option you decide, whether it's 2 or 3, I would encourage you to look at 2 and 3. And 2 looks like it's easier to administer for the county, but it will generate a sum of money that will help offset some of the cost of providing those services.
So, I mean, I would agree that if the committee's wishes are that they do want to recover some of that levy cost, then yeah, I would prefer B to C. Although I will just add, as far as option A, I think that there is a public benefit for people having a private system where they don't just have waste going into the ditches and groundwater and that. So, we talk a lot about public benefits coming off of the tax levy, and that I think there's a compelling option for it to remain under option A. I get that some folks might not appreciate that, especially the urban supervisors, because they want to recover that portion of the levy. But like I said, I still think when you talk about the levy, there is a public benefit there. And I think that needs to be tied to the levy. So, other thoughts? Supervisor Drabeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got some constituents that wouldn't really be happy about this. They don't like fees much.
Yeah.
And just so you're aware. And my other thoughts, just a little bit, were what if we're to bring this to the towns meeting, the next Western towns or Eastern towns meetings or whatever, and get some feedback from those people. And if Lance wants to talk about that, that'd be great, but I won't bring a rotten fruit.
I always receive a warm welcome from the Towns Association, so I won't read into
You have in the past. I don't know what this you will, though.
Well, I appreciate the discussion because I think to your last point, that is exactly what the county board needs to discuss. I mean, as what we put in this memo, what I put in the memo, this is absolutely a question of what is the public benefit and to whom is the benefit conferred? There's absolutely a public benefit to having regularly maintained and inspected on-site wastewater treatment systems, just like there's a public benefit to municipal utilities. Our tax levy does not go to municipal utilities. It does to this. That's your choice. The reality as laid out by HR Chair Robinson is very clear, and you'll see this in my budget message. Your shared revenue and your tax levy is not growing fast enough to do all the things you want to do. My message is going to be very stark on that. You directed us to look at fees. If this committee wants to have tax levy support these, we won't move any further forward. If your thought is, hey, it's a 50-50 split, we have a lot of programs where we have split in terms of what's levy support and what's not. But those are all choices for you as a policy body. Each is an intentional one. You either are affirmatively subsidizing that, or you are choosing 100% cost recovery on the far side, or at least a path toward it, because we don't know. We're going to continue to look at that. Or there's something in the middle. Staff are here to help you gather the information you need. But if you all thought I had a money tree somewhere that I was using to also fund programs, I hate to disappoint. It just doesn't exist. So we'll continue to bring you these options as long as you continue to ask for them, and the county board asked what fees for service exist. And we're bringing forward all of those.
Marilyn, you had a comment?
If it's permissible, can I ask what is the approximate cost for a person to get all approval and the permits and everything for a septic system and a mound system?
Yeah, our base permit cost, it'll depend on the type of system you're putting in, but is $650. $650, that covers 3 on-site inspections for each system, the permit review, and then just kind of the admin work that is associated with that. The thing with the maintenance program is it's not a one and done type deal. That's as long as that system is in place, we're tracking it. It never ends until that system is abandoned and removed. That tracking continues. The permit fee cost is only associated with the install of that system.
I'd like to know, what is about the approximate cost of putting in a septic system to the landowner and the cost for a mound system?
Yep. So a holding tank is right around the 10 to 12,000 from what we're hearing, and then mound systems, which are very common in Marathon County. Honestly, those, depending where you're at, the cost changes quite a bit, but I'd say probably between 20 and 30,000.
I'm just going to say what I think, and then we can have some more discussion here. And then I'm going to have to go in here soon. But this is what I think. I don't think we implement this for the 2025 budget. I think we should have discussions in June of 25 with this again. That's what I'm willing to do today. So, Chair Gibbs, did you have something? Okay. I don't think we shut the door on this, but I don't think we move on it for this budget. I think we could look at it for something in 2026, though. Okay? Staff, I do appreciate you taking the time to look at this. You did have a lot of good information in that packet, so it was not all for nothing, and I don't want us to slam the door on it, but I don't think this committee is ready to act on this today. So, all right, moving on to 6, department updates, CPZ, we've got none. 7A, Big O Plain next steps. I did talk with staff beforehand, and I think we're going to talk about this more next month. Just know that there's a lot of work that's being done out there, and I know Kirsty and Lori are excited to talk to you all about it next month. So, yeah, you'll hear more about that in November. Next meeting date, November 5th, 2024, 3 p.m., Assembly Room, future agenda items. A, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. B, announcements, requests, correspondence. 8B1, 2025 ERC tentative dates. Lori.
Yeah, we just wanted to bring to your attention that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We wanted to bring to your attention with the rules in Chapter 2, we cannot have the first meeting for the ERC on the date it's scheduled because that is a county holiday. So we are proposing that we would shift it to Friday, January 3rd, 2025 at 1 p.m. So we do need to solidify that date very soon because application deadlines have to be put out there for rezone applications in conjunction with when we're doing the public hearing. So this is what we did last year as well. When it fell on the holiday, we moved it to Friday at 1 p.m. I know that the Parks Commission, we've also talked with them because they'll schedule their meeting before ours and whatever the ERC chooses. So
Okay.
I think we try and look at options where the assembly room will be available as well. And so that looks like a good date and time.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any feedback or thoughts on choosing Friday at 1 p.m. from the committee. So.
This hasn't been noticed as a discussion item, so maybe it's something we can talk about in November.
We would want to adopt it in November if that's what it's going to move
Okay.
to. So,
Yeah, it's
but
something
take
for-
a look at your calendars. All the rest follow, obviously, the guidance in Chapter 2 for when we schedule the meeting. So.
Okay, sounds good. I don't think I have anything. Go Brewers. I think they're up by 2 right now, so, yeah. All right, item number 9. Who'd like to make the motion? Motion by Supervisor Seefeld, second by Vice Chair Ritter. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, staff. Thank you, members of the committee. Thanks, Chair Gibbs.
All the attorneys that we have here.
Yeah, but we're all still, the number of us are salaried, so it's.
What's this?